So the Amity Schools Trust, we have several schools, as was mentioned, with regards to based in the UK. So that covers primary and secondary education. And we're working with the Department for Education in the UK in terms of the Secretary of State and government agencies with regards to the development of policy framework within the UK. So that's a bit about us. The educational system, in terms of, within the UK, there are huge challenges. Often people from outside of the UK think about the UK in terms of London, a vibrant city, lots of commerce, lots of trade. There are places in the UK, many places now, which are now experiencing their third generation of unemployed. That means the grandfather, the father, and now the son have been unemployed for 3 generations. And that's because in those towns and places, the country, not the country, but the actual industry localized to that place was unable to reform itself. It was unable to move with what was going on in the world around it, and it was stuck in a particular situation which was based upon industries like steel or like shipping, which have moved out. So in the same sense, the IT boom provided a great base for India's growth. And in a similar way, looking forward, what is the change that needs to happen in terms of the educational system that needs to move away from box-ticking exercises and rote learning to create educated individuals for the future. Stop taking your kids after school, sitting them down for 2 hours after school, and force-feeding them workbooks and rote learning exercises. Somehow or another, that's what they're trained to do. They're trained to understand that this child needs to learn this because it's the percentage at the end of the day that's going to differentiate them. It's not true anymore. The top universities are not differentiating by percentages. Everybody gets A's. That's just the way it is. So that's no longer the differentiator. So in terms of what it means for an educational system here, is that we need to try and understand what are the differentiators on a world platform, not just at a local level. So in Europe, it's all about heritage. My father was an engineer, so I'll be an engineer. And in China, 9 out of 10 children say, it depends on the effort I invest. And if I study hard and I work hard, I will succeed. Now, question is, where does India stand in that? What is the cultural context that's being rolled out at the grassroots level in India? Now, here's what shocked me, okay? So these head teachers consistently, amongst the ones amongst the ones I've been speaking to, said to me that 75% of their students, okay, 75%, 3/4 of their students are saying to them that it doesn't matter how much hard work I put in. That's not going to determine where I get to. And actually, 75% of those students, therefore, want to leave India and either do their further studies abroad or work abroad. I was thinking, well, what's the easiest way for a nation to put itself on a path of self-destruction? Well, I'll tell you, become a nation which is a superpower, which has one of the fastest and most potential growing economies in the world, with some of the most brightest children, not some, but the most brightest children in the world, and then put in an educational system which incentivizes them and motivates them to leave your country. That's what you do. Now, so I then spent, before I came across, I was asking many of my friends who work in banking or consultancy or different industry jobs in the UK, and I was saying, tell me about the Indian candidate. So these are international companies. They obviously recruit from around the world. They bring them into the UK or whatever. So they're working in multinational teams. So I said, tell me about the person coming from India. How do they rank? And I remember about 15 years ago, when I was kind of in similar roles and we were recruiting from around the world, the Indian candidate was hardworking. They were entrepreneurial, they were innovative, and they would get the job done. The University of Cambridge is the #1 university in the world. It has the highest rankings worldwide for any university, but also its faculty of education is far beyond anything that's out there. So we've teamed up through CAMAST, which is the education partnership between Cambridge University, which is the CAM, and AST, which is the Amity Schools Trust, to develop a program which incorporates some of the key elements we believe are important for us in the UK, but also for in India. And this is where we hope to really add some value. So I'll just go through these briefly. One of them is around research, so developing a research-led culture. And this is about implementing doctoral, postdoctoral research, but also centers of excellence in India, which rely upon the highest levels of academic research to inform what we're doing. So you're no longer kind of shooting in the dark and kind of from the hip, but it's actually based on academic research. We can make certain initiatives by entrepreneurial spirit, etc., and obviously that's welcome. But when we're making national policy framework decisions, it needs to be based on proper founded research. The second one is around initial teacher training. And this is the qualification of teachers. So I understand here there are qualifications such as the B.Ed or the M.Ed, D.Ed, sorry, processing qualifications. Cambridge University runs a teacher accreditation program in the UK, and we're going to look to bring that here into India, where teachers can get a qualification that could be recognized around the world, and best in practice with regards to really what makes a fantastic teacher. And the last one is around setting up a family of model schools here in India, which would exemplify all the principles that I'm talking about, that would span everything from non-fee paying schools all the way to fee paying schools, to show that it can work in any situation. We would support that with quality assurance, with an inspection regime, and with the teacher training and accreditation. One of the head teachers I spoke to said, so I was asking the head teacher, do you have an inspection regime which comes in and inspects what you guys do here? He said, yeah, sure, we have an inspection regime. The guy comes, he comes once every year, 2 years, tells us when he's coming. He comes empty-handed, but he goes with his hands full. And I thought, that's not the kind of system that we need. We don't need a system which comes just to tick boxes or just to kind of extract what they can out of schools. We need a system that both supports but also challenges school leaders and school systems to be better than what they currently are. And all of this really, from our perspective, means that we want to do something. And I said, just to be clear, this is not a profit-driven initiative. This is an initiative because I personally, but also other members of the Trust, feel very passionately that India has immense potential. It has a potential to really take its place center stage in the world. But to do that, we really do need to take a more fundamental look at how our education system works and about what we think about inclusion and how we're going to deliver that in a real way. Thank you very much.